Hello and welcome to episode 8 in a series that is looking at the Minecraft server world HurleyAllCraft. In this episode we'll be traveling out to the city of Kempston, which is located in the southwest area of the world. Before actually getting on the rails though, we're going to take a look at the map here so you can see the route that we're going to take to head out that way. We're going to begin here at Brent Station, which is just west of the spawn point in the world. And from Brent Station, we're going to head south down to Savasota. From Savasota Station, we will head, it's west by southwest here. There's actually an underwater rail line that pops up over here and will land us at Holliston Station. From Holliston Station, you head south until you get down here to Pollock Station. And from Pollock Station you head due west to Roscoe Station. And here we see the city of Kempston. That's our destination for this episode. So without further ado, I'll shut the map off here and we will join into my server world. Okay, so as I said earlier, we're going to go ahead and begin at Brent Station. I've already got my character here in the minecart. So next stop is Savasota Station. We'll want to flip the switch in the direction the sign shows, and we're off and going. I'm going to keep my character turned to the right here so we don't see the Temple of Crafting. As I mentioned in episode 2, there's going to be some rendering issues around that. If we turn around and look at it, you're just going to see a bunch of lag while we try and get down to the railway station. And here's Savasota Station coming into view. Now, the next part of our journey is going to take us through currently the only submerged rail line that's in the game. So this is definitely going to be a unique trip. So from here we want to head to Holliston Station, so we'll need to flip the switch there the other direction, and we're off and going again. And here we go. And so this part of the rail line's actually running across the ocean floor here. Sometimes as you're going along it's a little easier in daytime to see, but you can see squid, things out in the water. It's a unique little trip. And actually, when we get to Holliston Station, I want to take just a few minutes and hop off the rail line, and we'll look at actually a natural feature that's worth exploring if you're down this way in the map. It's two rifts that actually intersect to make kind of a big X in the ground. And then even more interesting than that, they actually intersect some caves. So if you're somebody that likes spelunking or just adventuring down in caves, I'd highly recommend checking it out. We've been in there a few times, but for the most part we've just flown down into the crevice, so we haven't actually messed around with any of the blocks or mined anything out. So for the most part the feature is still pristine. You can see it as we drive by here. I've actually got glowstone around it to kind of highlight where it is. So we'll fly down and take a look at it real quick. So if we come down in here, I may not be able to show it to you. So we don't have the inside of it lit, so you can't really see where both of the crevices kind of collide and make the X here. Well, I don't necessarily want to hold up the trip waiting on the sun to come up. Any rate, if you were to come in here during the daytime, you will see where there's actually two splits, And they don't quite make the X on top of the ground here, but you'll be able to see underneath the ground where they crisscross, and it's kind of like two big chasms. And then, as you can see, the lava over there, it actually goes into a series of caves. I would say, though, make sure to light your way. It's very easy to get lost in there. So let me head back over here to Holliston Station and get back in the minecart. We'll continue on our way. Kind of inopportune. I guess the sun's coming up. But at any rate, something for you to explore on your own there. Oops, and my fault. Got carried away and didn't check which way the rail line was pointing. So we need to head to Pollock Station from here. So we need to flip the rail line here, as you see on there. We were heading to Denell just a minute ago. And we'll have to wait for my character to settle back down in the minecart again. For some reason, in rare cases, like just a minute ago, when you get in the minecart, he'll just sit down and you can reach the button. But as I've complained about pretty much throughout this series of episodes, that doesn't seem to be the general case. Usually you have to sit here and wait for him to sit down further so you can actually punch the button. There he goes. Okay, now we're underway. So once we reach Pollock Station, we'll have one more station to get out to, and that'll be Roscoe, and then we'll be able to explore the city itself. And so I guess on the ride down there, we'll fill in a few facts about the city. So Kempston is the second major city that we built after New Avril City, which we took a look at in the previous episode. It's smaller than New Avril City, but it's also a little bit more mature. So we learned some lessons putting together large populated cities after having built New Avril City, and some of those lessons kind of got put into Kempston. You'll see that the houses are a little bit more refined, and in particular things like the inn are starting to come up with a more standardized design. Later on, when we go to Belcrick City, you'll see where we've standardized on a lot of designs for houses and inns and so forth. And the city looks a lot more finished than the first two that we're visiting. Kempston City is also built out on an island. Now, originally we thought that the island was going to be large enough to contain the entire city, and it turned out it wasn't. So we had to backfill a little bit on the back side of the island to get enough space to finish the city out. The result is it kind of looks like it's floating on water, but it's actually taking up the entire island that it's built out on. Kempston's also got two different areas of the city that you'll see. There is the main city, which is the city inside the gates, and then there's kind of a wharf area, and it was intended to be kind of a poor man's town, and it's built off on a floating dock out to the southwest edge of the city. There's gates separating the two, and we'll take a look at both parts of the city on our trip over there. Okay, so we want to go to Roscoe Station. Looks like the lever's flipped the right way. And off we go. It didn't take a whole lot of time, but as you notice, Pollock Station's also built on a small island. It's kind of out here in the middle of the sea. Now, if you've been watching these episodes, in episode 3, I'd mentioned that the railway stations had kind of evolved in design, and that as we traveled further out to the east and west from the origin point, you would start to see the design take more shape. That's certainly true of Pollock Station and Roscoe Station, which is where I'm heading to now. These should be the standard 11 by 17 designs that you'll see prolific throughout the far east and the far west in the world. They don't have the unique characteristics of the first few stations. So for Brent Station, Savasota Station, and Turek Station, which were the first few, are all different sizes. They're different proportions in height and width and length. Similar in the way that the track is laid out, different in the way that the redstone's done. Pollock Station and Roscoe Station, which is the one we're heading to now, have a standardized way that the redstone is handled. It's much more efficient. If you decide to add in additional railway stations and you want them to look like the stations that are in the map right now, I would definitely suggest laying out based on one of these 2 stations that we just visited. It'll be a lot more consistent with the stations that were added in later in the game here. Okay, so we are just about at the end of our trip here. We have Roscoe Station coming up. And as a courtesy, take our minecart off. Prevents other people from running into it if they happen to be visiting this station while we're out. And there you see the city of Kempston. So there's a little walkway heading over there, and then a bridge to actually get out to the island that Kempston's built on. You got a little sign there that tells you the name. Just like New Averil City, this has got a hollow wall. Close. And we've got the same fence gate to keep the NPCs from wandering off and either getting stuck in the water or getting massacred somewhere outside the city. Nothing particularly interesting in the wall. It's just another way to travel around the city if you like. There are doors in this case that allow you to get up on top of the wall so you can get in and out at will. I'll head back to the main gate. So we can see when you enter into the city proper what you see. And so stairways, this heads up to the upper section of the city. We'll start in the lower quarter here. We've got our church built in. This is just the standard layout for a Minecraft church. Over here we've got a small dwelling. This is supposed to be kind of like an alchemist shop. Shut. Guess it doesn't matter, he'll come out. Some other small houses. As we head, we're kind of making a full circle here to the upper quadrant. We've got some larger homes that we'll take a peek into in a second. And then as I make a full circle around, this is the revised prototype for our inns. So coming from the layout that was in New Averil City, we've definitely got the main door into the inn and the door into the stable portion of the inn, always facing the same side of the building now. We've cleaned up the inside a little bit, so there's sheep, there's cow for milk, so sheep for wool, cow for milk, and there's chickens for both eggs and chicken. There's a way to get into the main quarters for the inn from the stable area. You can also come in through the front door. Kind of cleaned up the layout here so that there's tables and sitting area in the front. There's kind of a standard look to the check-in desk now. And then as you head up the stairs, which are now centered in the middle of the inn, your rooms will be off to the left and to the right. So the room layout's very similar. You've got the same thing, a furnace, a crafting bench, an ender chest, and a bed. And now this, while this design here is centering in on kind of the final design we'll be using for ends, there was still a few issues with it. So there's kind of some wasted space in the design. And you'll see out here that the storage area is actually external to the inn itself. We didn't keep that part of the design. So later in Bell Creek City, you'll see how we fixed it. Apparently we've got enough NPCs now. We've got an iron golem. So the outside storage area is this. It's kind of a little too external. So there's basically this is supposed to be like food and supplies for the inn that are up here. If you want to keep some of your materials in the chest, I mean, by all means. It's not like anybody owns them in here. It's kind of dangerous to get out of this, though. You have to be just so, or if you fall off in survival mode, you'll die on the way down. Another unfortunate aspect of the design here. I will take a quick look in one of these, in one of the larger houses. Layouts inside the houses are still pretty unique to each house. So if you like what you see here, I'll leave it for your own exploration to see the layouts in the other houses. We've got our kitchen area here with our stoves and our counter, kind of a living area. Over here we've got a nice fireplace. Doors really don't want to shut. Stairwell to get up here to the upstairs. So you do have to be careful when you put things in the rooms here. Wherever the fire is, if you happen to put anything upstairs that's over the fireplace, it'll catch on fire. So there's, in this room, things are laid out to try and avoid that. So we've got the smaller room there. We've got another bedroom. A little bit of lag there. Another bedroom over here. This is kind of like the larger. I guess it's the same size as the other one was. Some of these have a master bedroom with a double bed in it. You can head out here onto the back deck. Since the sun's going down, I'll mention that just like the other cities, these are all fully lit, so you should be able to walk around in here without any mobs spawning or falling off roofs or anything like that. And then in addition, there's an attic space, so we'll head up into that. So I get him up the ladder. There's kind of a social area back here, and then kind of a twin area up here in the attic. So some of the other houses are the same thing. They're typically 3 floors, 2 main floors and an attic space that's fully furnished out. And as with the other cities, all the houses are fully furnished, so typically done in a unique way. I don't think we've got any that are identical. So let's take a look now at kind of the back side of the city, where I said there was a kind of like a lower end quarter that's all built on a floating dock. So we do have some areas where we've got gardens in the city now. And should be right here. So the waterfront. Now this actually is completely floating. We're off the island proper at this point. And this is just kind of like a ramshackle little place. All the buildings are wood. They're very tightly put together. It's supposed to feel kind of like the waterfront area that you would see on some of the old cities. A poorer quarter. We've got even the church here made out of wood. A lot of NPCs in this section of it. Some of the houses, again, not as fancy as the other ones. Rather than have windows, we've just got fence post in there. So a downscaled design over what you saw in the city proper. I can take a look at one of the larger houses here. Let's go into this one. assuming we can get in the door. So you see we've got a back bedroom here, much smaller, much less personal than the larger buildings that we were in. And then we do have an upstairs area that again is much tighter, much more pressed for space than the buildings in the city proper. And finally, you probably noticed it on our way through here, there is actually a dock that's over here. We removed the boats from this dock. Unfortunately, like was discussing in the previous episode for New Avril City, boats tend to misbehave in Minecraft, and they will fly up into the dock, they'll float out to sea. You don't even have to touch them to make them start just misbehaving. So they were removed here. If you have your own boat, feel free to throw it in the dock. I said you may experience some problems where mysteriously you walk 5 feet from it and it just kind of drifts out, even though, as you can see, we've got a moving water feature here to actually keep the boat snugged up against the dock. If you come in, you'll hit this patch here that's constantly flowing into the dock, and it should keep the boat up against it. For the most part, it works, but you will start to see suddenly the rendering flips out, and then the boat is like in the dock, and then it's 10 feet above the dock, and so forth. And just not much I can do about that. Okay, well, this was the city of Kempston, and there is one other fully populated city left to see called Belcrix that we'll adventure out to in another episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And again, if you like this Minecraft world and you'd like to download it and play it for yourself, it is freely available from minecraftworldmap.com, and the name of the world is HurleyAllCraft. Thanks for your time.